Good morning, TikTok. I am out on my morning constitutional. How are y'all? So, uh, it's been a few days. Had some stuff going on. So, where we left off in episode 7 of Gravity, I had just returned to East Baton Rouge Parish prison and was about to be booked back in to go down to the uh, gay line at the prison, the titular L2 at the time. I don't know if L2 still exists. This is almost 20 years ago, uh, when I was young and not beautiful. And, um, I may have changed it since then, but this is how it was back in the day. So you arrive at the prison, and it's across the street from the Baton Rouge airport, and it's surrounded by a wall and a fence. And they drive you into a little sally port, and you're cuffed like this, with your hands at your waist with a chain wrapped around your body, and you're cuffed at the ankles as well. And there's a black plastic box like put over the entrance points where the keys go to unlock the handcuffs so that you can't be all snicker and uncuff yourself and do violence to the marshals. Not that you would ever consider such a thing, right? 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 If you would, leave me a comment. I didn't. Promise. So you can imagine how uncomfortable that position is. And a lot of times you have to sit in that position for hours when you're being transported places. For me, it was approximately 3.5 hours in this instance because I got let out of the Con Air airplane at Alexandria, Louisiana. It's about 2 hours north of Baton Rouge. And then they drove me down to East Baton Rouge Parish and put me inside uh, East Baton Rouge Parish prison that way. Again, I had no fucking clue where I was going. It wasn't until we reached the outskirts of Baton Rouge that I really started to go, oh, I guess I am going to East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. It's like I had heard through the grapevine from people I met at the Federal Transfer Center that Louisiana inmates were stored in Tangipahoa and not in East Baton Rouge Parish. And that's true. But if you have a court date coming, especially if you're like a fugitive like Frank was, then it's likely you're going to get dropped off at the nearest jail to whatever courthouse you have to appear in. And the marshals are just going to foot the bill, which is what happened to me. So you get booked into East Baton Rouge Parish Prison through an area called Central Booking. And it's this like massive set of two tanks, which are just big holding cells. They call them tanks, but it's just a cell, except it's like big enough that it could probably accommodate comfortably 20 people. And they put about 100 in each one. Yeah. And during the day, like at night, it's going to be closer to the 40 or 50 range, and they make them all sleep on the floor. They like bring them a mattress and shit. It's really uncomfortable. I never had to do that, thank Tori Amos. But I did have to sleep in the uh, similarly located, but not similarly laid out gay holding tank at East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, which, as I've told you before, is fucking painted pink and not like a nice pink. It's like a vomit Pepto Bismol pink. It's glorious. And it's right next to where they keep the women too. So you can like kiki with the women if you want to. And they have a phone in the women's area because the phone for the men is in those two big holding tanks I was just telling you about. And you can't access it when you're in there as, in the gay cell. So like if they're holding you for anything, and you're in that cell, you have to ask a guard to come unlock the door to go use the phone. And yeah, they ain't gonna let you do it. You have to like know somebody or know the system. You have to know how to work it to be able to make that shit happen. But when the girls are in the cell next door, you can just be like, hey, you, dial this number for me, dial this number for me. And then, your friends can choose to accept a collect call and like pay the fee at the time, just extensive, and, talk to you. But of course, all the messages have to be relayed like a game of telephone on the telephone to the women in the cell next to you. So they'll like talk to your people. Yeah, your people said this, this, and this. And you can say, well, tell them I said this, this, and that. And then you talk back. And then the women like, ask you questions about your shit. What charge you're on, and do you know this guy and that guy, stuff like that. So I'm sitting there at East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Now I've been there once before when I got arrested. This is in currently in the story. It's July, August. It's August of 2007, and I got arrested initially in March 2007, and I fled my federal trial near the end of June 2007, the beginning of July. So I finally get to East Baton Rouge Parish Prison again, but I've never been back on like a line. I've always been held in central booking. So I don't know like how that works or what any of it's like. And as I've told you in previous bonus installments, like I used to make medical emergencies all the time when I was on L2. That's in the future from where we're at. And at that point, I knew how to navigate the system. I knew how to like maximize it to my advantage. At this point, I didn't know any of that shit. So people who already knew the system and they were living on L2 would filter in through that cell to go to medical until a guard could like bring them over to like the 40 feet away where medical was, where they had like a separate holding tank. But they couldn't keep people from L2 in that holding tank. They weren't supposed to, because we were technically protected custody to keep us from getting the out of us, and because the boys liked the girls. And I don't know why, but we were the girls. I know why. You know why too. I look real girly, don't I? Slow money. So the people from L2 would, a few of them would filter up into the cell, stay like an hour or so, and go back. And they'd pepper me because, I'm a new queen. What the fuck you doing here? You don't look gay. What's going on? That kind of stuff. You don't got titties. You don't got hair down your back. What's happening? And not like Megan Thee Stallion. What happened? That didn't happen yet. So uh, I was ratchet though. And so the girls would go back and they would tell the other girls on the line, like, hey, there's somebody up there, to try and see if like anybody knew who that person was. And so, of course, I told you tragic boyfriend was in jail. So he was back there on L2. And the next group of people the next morning that came up, because I was still there, I had to sleep there all night. They bring you a little mattress and you lay on the floor with all the riches. Glorious. I had my own bathroom then. So the queen comes back the next day and is like, yo, tragic boyfriend said, hey, said hello. And he wanted to know if you could send him anything. And I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna send him something? What the fuck? But hey, this just goes to show you how truly pathetic I was. I saved like my desserts from my next 3 or 4 meals, and I sent them back with the next queen that went back. Uh-huh. Yep. Because I'm that fucking stupid. So, hey, but I learned a long time ago, even when I was nominally still like Twinkie, that the way to a twink's heart is through his stomach. And then the way to his stomach is through your fucking wallet. Fucking twinks. So, for God's sakes, people, if you have a twink for a kid, feed them. Let them eat. They're always fucking hungry. Shit. Give them food. Why do I always have to clean up all y'all's messes? I'm sick of it. Ah. So the I know I keep digressing. Uh, they finally call my name and tell me, okay, you're going back to the line. And it takes 3 days for that to happen. So by the time I get back, I've been sitting up in that cell just like just a waiting, just like, oh, tragic boyfriend. Oh, I get to see him again. Yeah. Oh. Dumbass. I'm such a fucking dumbass. So I get back to the line and they make you carry your mattress. I got my orange jumpsuit on. And a side note, orange was not my favorite color at the time. Blue was. But guess what? Orange is my fucking favorite color now. Fuck you, Popo. You're not taking orange from me. Huh? What was that? Is that lip flare? Ah! So I get back to L2. And when you get to L2, you have to walk like this Byzantine maze through 3 or 4 different buildings before you get to this last out building, which is separated by an open walkway from the rest of the prison. That's L2 and L1. And L1 was like all old handicapped men, and L2 is all the queens. So you walk into L2, to the L building, and it's like a sally port, which is a metal door that opens up. And then there's a metal door on your left and a metal door on your right that are like full doors. They're not bars, they're just full doors with like a window in the top. And then there's a guard booth between those 2 doors so that there's a guard presence 24/7 that can watch both lines and like, call in for backup and shit. They're not going to run their ass up in there and do shit. Ah! I promise you that much. Especially not Robinson. He probably dead now, but that man did not give 2 shits. Did not. He did not want to do paperwork. But then, none of them really do. Because like I said, corrections are the lowest of law enforcement. That's where the force goes to be meant. So uh I get there and I'm in that medium area between the 2 L1 and L2 before the doors open. And I got the mattress kind of in front of me, so you can't really see that I'm behind it. And then the door opens. I walk in, I set the mattress down and drop it, and tragic boyfriend just comes running from across the unit and like jumps into my arms. And let me tell you, from this standpoint right here, from the standpoint of everything that I am now, with that fucking sun right behind me so you can see it, I'm so fucking stupid. Because I was happy. I was happy. I was happy to have him in my arms again. And that TikTok is enough for today. So tune in tomorrow for episode 9 of Gravity. And if you're listening to this as the podcast, hey, welcome. Hi. You have any questions about prison? Leave them in the comments, bro. Bro, sis, let's kiki. Talk to me about it. I'll tell you everything. I will tell you anything you want to know. I'll even tell you adorable murderer Ziggy's real name. Love y'all. Bye.